G'day, welcome back to Australia's best Morris Minor YouTube channel. On this episode of Tomo's Tune-Ups, we are working back on the Series 2 Morris Minor and we're going to be working out what exactly is going on with this and how we can improve it. So welcome back to the channel. Thanks very much for tuning in. Please get here, hitting that like and subscribe button. This episode is also proudly sponsored by Minisport. Don't forget to use the code Tomo's Tune-Ups for 5% at checkout. That is only available as a discount at the Australian Minisport website. So let's jump straight into the Morris Minor and continue on. All right, so here's our list of things in which we've got. We started with the ignition leads. Between the coil and the dizzy, we had 8.2 kilo ohms. Lead number 1 and 2 were both 1.3. 3 and 4 were both at 1.6 kilo ohms. So that is already way too much. And we also had a total of 14 kilo ohms. So I'm just going to position that so the light is good. So we've got 14 kilo ohms as part of the circuit, and that is way too much. We need ideally between 5 and 7 kilo ohms. So as you can see, it's already double what we need as a minimum. So we're going to need different leads to be able to replace those. Now the plugs that came out of it were BP6ES. They were gapped to 25 thou, which is really good. However, one of them just sitting here, upon closer inspection, you can actually see that it's been running quite hot. Because it does have some deposits on there as well. It looks like it's been pinging. The reason why I know that is because there's certain hot spots all over here. It's not smooth, it's quite rough, it feels like sandpaper. That is really an indication as to what the engine has been doing internally. So we checked the dwell angle, it was at 44 degrees. That does need to come up. Ideally, we need it at 60 degrees dwell. So we're going to take the distributor out and adjust it. The distributor is approximately 12 months old, so we're likely going to have to get this adjusted. When we take it out, we will just check to make sure that the shaft and everything inside there isn't worn, because it is a 45D and they are renowned for wearing. The voltage at the coil was 10.4 volts with the ignition on, which we saw in the last episode. The voltage at the battery was 12.4 with the ignition on as well, or I suppose on or off, it doesn't really matter, it's still going to read the same. Now it is a non-ballast resistor. I did look into this originally. I did find that between the ignition coil and the fuse box, there's a wire that runs directly there, which is the supply wire to the ignition coil. That's a 12 volt feed constant. From there it also piggybacks and then goes to another wire. When I disconnected that wire at the ignition coil, the voltage actually raised from 10.4 to 12.4 volts. So I know that on that circuit somewhere, either between the coil and the fuse, or the fuse and wherever it goes to, that is drawing too much current. So we need to work that out, because we do need to have 12 volts at the coil to ensure we get maximum power. The coil originally tested at 1.6 ohms, which turns out that the battery on my multimeter was dying and it wasn't giving me the right reading, so it was actually quite off. Took it out, it's actually at 3 ohms. So what we've done there is I've gone and replaced the coil with a Lucas sports coil. It is a 3 ohm coil. I'll just write that down here. 3 ohm coil. So that was supplied by the customer. We've tested that and we've fitted the new one. The customer also supplied me with a new set of BP5ES plugs, because as I said, the 6s weren't a bad option. However, the 5s will be a better option because it will help it to run hotter, which in this case, it is a very, very mild engine build. It is 60 thou over with a 266 cam. So it is a very, very mild build. There's no headwork done, there's no porting, there is double row springs, which is good. There's no lighting internals, anything like that, so it is a very basic rebuild. I also swapped the distributor cap and leads over from Grace, because I know that they are good, because they are brand new and she is running perfectly at the moment. I also am led to believe that this has been pinging quite badly. The reason why I believe that is because of the limited power in which it currently has. Essentially at about 4 grand, it really just dies off, and you can hear in that previous video that essentially when you get to that, it just bogs down and there's just a lot of induction noise. What can actually happen here is if the ignition time is too advanced, as the piston's coming up, it needs to ignite the fuel and air mixture as it is inside the combustion chamber. So when it's on the compression stroke, it's coming up, it's compressing the air and fuel. As it gets to the top, the spark plug will then fire, which will then push the piston back down. When you have too much advance, it's actually causing the combustion to happen prior to the piston getting right to the top of the cylinder. So what it actually does is, as the piston's coming up, the air and fuel mixture is getting injected, or it's flowing into the cylinder, which as the piston's coming up, the spark plug is then igniting that mixture, which it's not burning it completely, so it's not completely combusting it. As it's starting to burn, it's coming to the top. As it gets higher and higher, that temperature in the cylinder does grow, which then creates a second explosion. So essentially it's doing this. That noise is pinging at higher RPM. The reason why pinging happens at higher RPM is because the engine's traveling so fast and you're getting that noise, and that's what's causing that knocking or pinging type sound, or pinking as it's also known. Now this is quite dangerous because a prolonged period you can cause excessive temperatures of cylinders, you can blow head gaskets, you can do cylinder damage, you can damage the pistons, melt the rings, break ring lands, melt pistons. All these sort of things are what are going to contribute to the aftermath of having too much timing, which is what I suspect is what's actually going on here. I also haven't written down, but we need to write down on it as well, a compression check. Now, when I did the compression check, when I had everything apart, essentially it wasn't what I needed the compression to be. Cylinder 1 was at 70 psi, cylinder 2 was at 85, cylinder 3 was at just under 70, and cylinder 4 was at 65 psi. Now this is significantly low and is concerning because this is likely due to the cause of the vehicle running such a advanced timing. So we're going to go out and check the timing shortly and do a couple other things before we get it fired up and see what it's doing. The concern that I've got is that if it's had so much advance, it's actually going to be destroying the piston rings and the pistons internally, which will then mean that the combustion is not being fully combusted, which means that we've potentially bore washed the cylinders, which is then worn the rings, and etc, etc. A bit of a snowball effect. So part of the compression test that we do, that was a dry test, by the way. So what we're going to do next is we're going to carry out a wet compression test. That will tell us then if it is the piston rings. If it seals and the compression raises, then we know that the rings are fried. The sad thing about this is he did have this done about 12 months ago, so I really hope that that's not the case. Essentially, this is what we've done, this is what we're up to. Let's head over to the car and check the ignition timing and go ahead and do a few other tests before we get it running. G'day folks, Tomo here from Tomo's Tune-Ups. If you haven't already, please consider hitting that like and subscribe button to my channel. Not only will you be kept informed as to when I release new videos, but also it helps to grow my channel, my analytics, and most importantly, recommend videos to yourself and new subscribers. Alright, so a couple of drops of oil in each cylinder, followed by compression tester. Alright, we've got Apprentice Kev here helping us, so mate, you're going to be on the full throttle position. If you just want to grab this for me over here, mate, just pull that all the way up until it stops. So, full throttle, here we go, everything's clear. Actually, let's make sure it's in neutral to begin with. Alright, she's in neutral. Good observation. Alright, here we go. 70, got about 80 on that one, not overly great. We'll go through and we'll test the others. So we got about 85 on that one. Yeah, 85 again. So it's not looking overly promising at this stage. Let's see what the last cylinder has. Yeah, that one's 70. So 80 all the way along, 70 for the last one. Not overly great. I'd be pretty confident to say it may have burnt exhaust valves or piston rings have gone down. It's gone up a little bit, not overly great deal, which is concerning. Alright, let's get this fired up. We will then let it get warm, we'll check the ignition timing, and we'll touch base in the next part. Alright, so we've got it idling at the moment. It's sitting at 750 RPM. Let's check the timing underneath the car and see what it's at. Alright, so timing marks are down underneath the bottom of the engine. It's going to be really hard to film. Essentially, I've found a couple of marks on the crank pulley. What we're going to do is we're going to advance the timing gun to see how much advance we have. It's going to be really hard to catch on video, so let's just advance it and see what we can do. Alright, so that is at 10 degrees. It's still nowhere near where we need it to be. We'll advance a little bit more. 15. Nope, still nowhere near it. Go to 20. Nope, still nowhere near it. Surely. That's 30 degrees, it's getting close. That's pretty much it. You would not believe this. 33 degrees. That is absolutely ridiculous. So that'll be the reason why it is running how it is. So let's take some timing out of it, Kev. So we're going to loosen off that clamp. I might just give this a little bit more acceleration because it's bound to die when we take timing out of it. We might set this to around 10 degrees. So I'll adjust my timing light. 10 degrees. It's idling at 1500, that's no issue. Alright, I might just put the camera down so I can do this because it is quite difficult. Alright, so we got apprentice Kev under there. Alright Kev, wind it. Slow it down, a little bit more. Yep. Yep, no, that's spot on. Awesome. Alright, so now that he's set to 10 degrees, idle's dropped a little bit, down to just under 900. We're going to bump that up to 1,000. Yeah, just under 1,000 RPM. Just give it a little bit more. Then we can lock up that lock nut there as well. There we go. It's 1,030. It's climbing a little bit. I'll probably just have to fiddle with that a little bit more. We might actually just connect up the dwell meter as well and see what the dwell currently is set at whilst it's running. And through here, it's a 4-cylinder, currently at 42 degrees dwell, so we need to add more timing into that, dwell angle into that, which we might take the distributor out next, make sure that we can get a better adjustment out of it. I'm going to fiddle with the idle screw off camera and bring the idle up a little bit more. Alright, so we've adjusted the gap. We have, 50, there we go. 56 degrees of dwell. Now, essentially, we pulled the distributor out. It does look like it's got a worn shaft. It might just be very slight, but however, it is sitting at 56 and not fluctuating. The idle has gone down, so it's now at just under 600. So we're going to go and adjust that back up to 1,000, recheck the timing, adjust it accordingly, and then go from there. Alright, so I got the timing set. We've actually taken it back to 7 degrees, and that's at about 1,000 RPM, which isn't bad, much better than what it was. We're going to go through and check it at 2,000, 3,000 and 4,000 RPM. Alright, take it to 2. 18. Take it to 3. 39. 4. Alright. Stop. That's it. Switch it off. 18, 39, 43. Those were our advanced curves. That is well and truly well above what we need. Distributor's gonna have to get recurved. All right, let's call it for this part of the episode. It's getting quite late. We've just established a few things. The ignition timing was out by a mile to begin with. We've readjusted that along with the dwell. We've now got max 43 degrees of advance, and that is no good. So as I said, let's call this an episode. Thanks for watching. Next part, we'll look into how it drives once we get the distributor fixed. If we drive it any further, we are going to run the risk that we're going to damage it, if it hasn't already done damage, which I imagine it probably has, and then we'll jump onto the carburetor. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button.